going on? It's episode 29 of IntheAMwMC with MC. It's your boy MC. We are recording on Thursday night here in early December. Shout out to everybody as the holidays start to roll around. Thanksgiving did just pass, but lots of other holidays, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, all coming up, New Year's, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, and so on and so on. And so everybody out there, I hope that you are able to find some warmth and some love and some happiness around this time and whatever it is that you're searching for. I hope that you're able to find that, man. Shout out to everybody out there. So let's get right into it with some WNBA talk. Asia Wilson was named Woman of the Year by I think like Time Magazine. They did like a giant feature on her. There was some discourse around some of the comments she made, which was natural because it's Asia Wilson and she is no one has accomplished what she's accomplished within the game of women's basketball at the rate that she's done it. Because let's be clear, like this she even acknowledges like there's people she's chasing in the way that LeBron is still chasing people. He's chasing Magic Johnson this year as far as assists on the all-time list, but that's not going to cement him anymore, in my opinion. Like he's already kind of a person who broke the mold and who I consider my GOAT. Some people don't consider him their GOAT. That's okay to be wrong. But the point I'm trying to make, obviously, is that AJ Wilson did talk about attendance and Clark was out for a lot of this year, but Indiana made a run, which is something that even I didn't predict. Somebody trolled me in my comments. Whoever you are, bro, shout out you. But somebody kind of trolled me in my comments. He was like, "Well, you didn't expect Indiana or Indiana got y'all or whatever." Because they won. That's good for them. But they did not they did not go all the way. Um, they did not go all the way. And so with a team like the Fever, obviously they're getting a lot of the main attention because they're getting all these games broadcasted. It's similar to what's happening in the NFL right now. The Kansas City Chiefs are getting their games broadcasted on all the main channels, every time that there's a significant game and there's an opportunity, like their games are getting broadcasted. And so if they're not good, if the product isn't good, then it does hurt what's going on. And it's hard for fans to follow the true storylines. Like the amount of fans that saw the Atlanta Dream play this year, for example, it's probably slim to none. Just solely based on what channels you get. The Mystic story was like interesting to follow. They got a lot of games, just because I think they're still reeling on a lot of the attention that they earned when they won a championship a couple years back. But the all in all, the attention is a steady incline, a steady increase based on years and 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 years of labor, of hard work, of basketball playing, of getting up, lifting weights, going to the gym. Lots of these women who are supporting their families as primary breadwinners and who, the league didn't have childcare for a long, long time. Like, you just imagine you say I played professional basketball in like 2002, and this is not every city, right? But you could be in a city where you don't have the team doesn't even have childcare, so you you literally wake up, you're like, who do I leave my child with? That's the first thing you think about. Who can I leave my child with while I go play basketball? And then you go hoop. You probably have morning practice. You might be at the facility till like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Might pick up your child, but then if you have a game that night then you're gonna drop them right back off at some time. They might be able to come to the game, but depending on how old the child is, probably not. It's just a lot of stuff that I think people don't consider when they very easily blow past the history of the league, and it bothers me because it's a young history. It's not like I understand. To an extent, I understand people who start to pick up basketball as a hobby, as a thing that they enjoy, like whether it be NBA, WNBA, college, whatever. Like they start to enjoy basketball, but they're not super interested in the Wilt Chamberlain times and even like the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar times. I get that a little bit, because what the version of basketball that we see now is just so new and different, and everything about the league now is so new and different from even again going back to the Birds and the Magics, and then predating them, the Chamberlains and the Kareems and the Russells. I mean, the league is a lot of people. I talk to kids all the time. I'm like, people used to in the 50s and 60s and the 40s, people were playing basketball games and drinking beer and smoking cigarettes at halftime and on the sidelines, and that's what they had. And that's when they had all these player coaches and they had all these union strikes, and And that stuff all feels so ancient when people talk about those leagues that are super established now financially and commercially. But the WNBA, which is an incredibly young league, which is on its way to being established in both realms, it doesn't seem to get that treatment. Like the history just gets completely blown by in every way, shape, and form. And it's again, it's unfortunate. But one way to combat that is to hire coaches who are invested in the league. Like it's pretty clear on all levels when somebody just gets a job because they need a job, and this is referring to a lot of the coaches that this seems to happen to. That like, and it's not always, you know, like sometimes I used to look at the staffs on NFL teams and college teams. I'm like, why does the staff 29 guys? Why do they have 15 offensive analysts and a GA and all this stuff? And at the end of the day, those guys aren't really contributing to the game plan, or the X's and O's or whatever. Like sometimes they're doing stuff that's just like a tier below that. For the most part, they're doing just other kinds of work. You know what I'm saying? Just complete other kinds of work. I would always think to myself, like, man, these people just have this job to have it. But I think you really find that out when they get to the level of a coordinator or the level of a head coach, or they have this expectation, or even a position coach. I think that's when you find out who's just mailing it in. And even you even seen head coaches of a lot of these teams mail it in. So for a newly hired WNBA coach, who happened to be a white male, say that, he's not familiar with the history of the league, and so he's gonna like do his research on all this stuff and just kind of just say it nonchalantly, and then be like, "Well, I have this other thing to worry about right now, which is his summer league job or whatever." That's cool. Like, yeah, you do have that to worry about, but I think that as a person that's representing these women in this organization, I think that they're owed a little bit more than that, because the question started as somebody asking him about how to be coaching women as opposed to coaching men, and then it turned to this whole thing about how he doesn't know anything about the league. This is Chris. Last name starts with a K. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Not really sure I remember it either. But there's zero black women head coaches in the WNBA, and to me, that's by design. It's not out of the ordinary. You would assume that the interest is there because it certainly is. Lisa Leslie, who is a pioneer in the WNBA, like for long stretches of time was considered the greatest, has registered a dunk in a game before many people. I think the first in the WNBA, unless I'm mistaken, and played for the Los Angeles Sparks, which was like a massive market. And for a certain period of time, the Sparks and the other, bigger market teams, the Comets. I know Houston wasn't as big as it is now, 25 plus years ago, but you understand the point. The Comets and the I mean, the Tulsa Shock were really good, even though they're a small town. Like they were always heavily supported. Um, oh my goodness, Mike Evans just made an incredible catch. Right now in the background, I have on the Falcons and Buccaneers game. I have an incredible thing to talk about the Falcons and Buccaneers game, but that will be on episode 30. So gonna have to catch me on episode 30. Zero black women head coaches in the WNBA. There's the entire league. I mean, at this point, I don't know the statistics off the top of my head, but the league I'd imagine is at least 75%, maybe 80% black women. And so there's going to be a natural disconnect with that. And I think that the owners understand who they're hiring and who they're firing. And even though Sandy uh, was fired from the Liberty, she got a new job very quickly. She got that Valkyrie job very quickly. Whereas you have Teresa Witherspoon, who was let go from the Chicago Sky in what seemed like no time at all, right? It's time to talk about Mr. Perfect Timing, Shedeur Sanders. So Shedeur Sanders has been getting reps as QB1. His first game he won. I think he lost every game since then. I think he's played 3 games, unless he went 1-1, but I really can't remember. But I'm pretty sure he's going 3 games, and he's going 1-2. This past game though, he had like 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and three through the air, one on the ground. Played a lot of good football, made a lot of checks at the line, made a lot of smart football decisions, smart football plays, and the kind of plays that are attractive to somebody who wants to build something. I don't think that it's necessarily the time to crown him, right? But at the same time, I'm really frustrated about the way that these people are being evaluated, because the fact that Philip Rivers at the age of 44 is off the couch and is about to start an NFL game for the Colts says a lot about the young quarterbacks who are in the NFL. And it's not. to me an issue of talent. I think it never is an issue of talent. Physical talent for a certainty, mental talent as a guess. But I think that they have too many cooks in the kitchen. These dudes are trying to run these offenses that are very complex, to have all this verbiage. They're scared out of their mind. At the end of the day, playing football is a scary thing, and it's not something people say out loud a lot, and they don't phrase it as such, because it's something that you choose to do. There's cognitive dissonance, there's adrenaline, but it's a scary thing. There's scary moments. There's moments where you are legitimately risking your long term and short term potentially health, and you know that you're doing so, and you're doing so at 100 miles an hour at a 37-degree angle. You know what I'm saying? That's just an average play, and it's 6 or 8 seconds of just that. Um, like speaking as somebody who played offensive and defensive line, you banging heads every single play. You banging heads with somebody following you the wrong way. It's a broke leg. I played next to a kid. He broke his leg just like that. He played. He was a freshman too. And he was a good player, and he broke his leg just like that. Um, and he was in because starter was injured. So when he went in, I had to play right tackle. If y'all ever find that film, burn it so that I can keep my job as a football coach because that is not pretty film. I was 17, guys. I'm sorry. I just turned 17. But the point remains, the young quarterbacks are not being developed in the league. When the conversation once Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders were both drafted by the Cleveland Browns was not about the fact that the Cleveland Browns had an opportunity in front of them to develop two young quarterbacks, when in reality, they're going to need to pay somebody when this Deshaun Watson nightmare runs out, because they're going to have to play him at some point. They have to play him again. They just cleared him off the pup list. He's rehabbing. He's going to start taking snaps. You know, he's not going to get any game time this year, but going into next year, even if Shedeur Sanders, let's say for the sake of argument, he goes 3-0, 4-0, which he's not going to go because they have a treacherous back stretch, right? Let's say he goes 3-0 or 4-0 and he plays moderately well and he plays clean football, because right now he is turning that football over, which is an issue that I had with him at Colorado. But let's say he does that. Then they go into the offseason and it's him versus Deshaun Watson. Do they trade him or do they have him as a backup and have the worst kinds of storylines in the media every single week? Deshaun Watson, you know, convicted, uh, convicted assailant of massage parlors, backup quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, who is coming off of a torn Achilles and being paid handsomely, all guaranteed, in the deal that set precedent and reset the league. Um, or do you play Shedeur Sanders? Mr. Perfect Timing. He attracts a lot of media attention naturally, but I think that to him, he doesn't always understand the extent to which he affects the cameras. And it's not to call him unintelligent. I think he's an intelligent guy. I actually met him. I think he's an intelligent dude. I think that it's more so the fact that he's always been surrounded by cameras, and Deion Sanders doesn't give you an option of when to feel like you want the camera in your face. He gets an option from time to time, but he's never let his children, his family pick if they want the cameras in their face or not. It's always been the reality. And so with Shador, he's incredibly prepared for it. And sometimes he just plays into the stuff just to be coy and just to be funny, but he knows what he's doing 96% of the time. That other 4%, I think he truly doesn't understand the gravity, because this is all these people can talk about. It's a sickness. I mean, I turn on my phone, anything he does, and these platforms are being run by people who are looking for engagement, regardless of if the admin, or if the admin on Twitter, or if the individual running a page on Instagram, regardless of if they happen to be 35 or 17, they're looking for engagement. And Shador Sanders gets them engagement. Talking about him gets them engagement. And talking about the things that don't have much to do with football, talking about him standing there giving high fives while a different quarterback is starting. Why is that? Why is that the headline? Going back and forth, but everybody's going back and forth on Twitter about how many reps a backup quarterback should get. Anybody who has ever played football will tell you in real life that the amount of reps that your backup quarterback gets is a case by case basis based on three people: the starting quarterback, the offensive coordinator, and the backup quarterback. Your starting quarterback is a demon. He's taking every rep. If you have a starting quarterback who's 75% of your offense, he's taking every rep. What for what reason is he not taking a rep? Because in the game, he's taking every rep. If you have a closer gap between your starter and your backup, then they might split sometime. But that depends on what you've been showing in the game, not necessarily how you feel evaluatively. Like once you get into the midst of the season, like with Shador Sanders, I think that there's people in the building who thought he was nicer than, the people he was playing behind for a minute. But as far as what's happening in the game, like there's no shot he's even playing because he's not even being activated. So no, he's not gonna get no reps. He's just not, like it's just weird. Every single thing is just how can we, spin a storyline for engagement because we know if we use this kid's name, we'll get engagement. And let's talk about the football. Like I said, he's making these checks. He's playing really, really clean football. My feeling about him coming out of the draft. I wanted the New York Giants to draft him. I have that documented in my mock draft episode. I believe that's 23. I wanted the New York Giants to draft him. I wanted them to take that swing on him. But I believed highly enough in him for him to go in the first round. He went in the fifth round. That being said, nothing he's doing well surprises me, and nothing he's doing unwell surprises me. But I wish we would just let him and all these rookies and all these young second, third year quarterbacks develop. JJ McCarthy, stepping into what should be a playoff team into his second year in the league, like off of a major injury. That's hard to do mentally. And again, complex offenses. Kevin O'Connor is known for great offenses, but he's not known for simplicity at all. And McCarthy came from Michigan when Harbaugh is actually known for simplifying his playbook to tailor his quarterback. Because if you look at what he was doing schematically when he was coaching for the San Francisco 49ers, it was nothing grandiose at all. He was setting up Kaepernick in a lot of ways to make good plays. They had ridiculous receivers, ridiculous targets, including Vernon Davis, and they ran read option. They ran a bunch of read option. You know what I'm saying? So he went from that to a guy like KOC. It's hard for McCarthy. And so with Shador in college, he picked up all the offenses well with all the different offensive coordinators. However, that last year he was playing, his issues were never more glaring. Like when he played at Jackson State, he played such clean football, and they did not win the Celebration Bowl either year that they were there. And I think that that's important. And people overlook that for obvious reasons. It's HBCU football, and they don't respect it, and they need to respect it. Shout out to Prairie View A&M who just won the SWAC for the first time since 2009. Have an opportunity to win a Celebration Bowl against I think South Carolina State. Good luck, because them dudes are no joke, and they've been known to kind of run the HBCU national championship game for a while. But in HBCU play, Shador Sanders never lost a SWAC game, but he never beat the MEAC as far as the Celebration Bowl. And both years he played well, right? But he gave the football away, whether it was in interceptions or fumbles. He gave the football away, and he held on to the football for too long, which I noticed happening while he's with the Browns already. But something that the two things that I've never doubted about him are his decision making. Oh, excuse me, not his decision making, his precision. Okay, his precision and his accuracy. He threw a touchdown to Travis Hunter on the. I think he basically had just like a corner route to the inside pylon, to a short pylon, and he threw this route to him, and only he could have caught the football, and he was in a ridiculous situation. I believe he drew a penalty, and he caught the football, and that's because of where Sanders put the ball. He was the most accurate quarterback in college last year, but the issues will remain. Like I didn't hear anybody talk about the whole entire time that the evaluation process was going on with Sanders in the draft. I didn't hear a single person talk about their bowl game against BYU because that's the last Colorado game that we got to see, the version of Colorado that the nation knows, because the version of Colorado that was playing this past year, people don't know who that is, man. They looking real unfamiliar. Next year they have a chance to resurge themselves. They hired Brandon Marion, inventor of the go-go, which I thought is wild because he has not stayed anywhere for a while. I just it's not even a I know he's built for it. It's really at the end of the day, it's none of our business as human beings what the other people are really up to. But that's just a lot of moving, man. What's the secret to moving? He's got to be an expert, bro, because he's gone so many places in the last 7 years. He's gone about 8 places, and he's done well at all of them. And so at Colorado, there's no reason to believe that he won't do well schematically. And I think culturally, he's a guy that people will buy into and get behind. I think he'll be a good soldier for Dion until it's time for him to maybe take over for him. But I definitely think that he can activate. I mean, their receiver core is ridiculous. Their quarterback is shaping up to be a really, really good player, Julian Lewis. They just need some backs. Wow, I just watched the drop from David Sills. They just need some backs. But at the end of the day, like they're a good football team. They're good. But at the end of the day, they have the potential to be a really good football team offensively. Just speaking about Marion and them. Defensively, there's a lot to be desired. It really hurt when they lost guys like Colton Hood in the portal. Trevor Woods, I'm not sure if he transferred because of the clock or because of playing time, but him going in the portal, you see him just cleaning dudes, deleting guys at Jacksonville State. That's something that they were missing on the back end this year for Colorado. But I'm sure they'll look different next year, just like they look different every year. Their APR is in the gutter, but it seems like that no longer matters, which is nuts to me because it was like so important while I was in college. The Giants have fired Shane Bowen. Finally, thank you. They are continually losing though. They're just on their bye week, so no Giants today. I have nothing to say about the Giants. Giants, please leave me alone. Everyone's talking about Jameis Winston on these dang shows, and I don't have thoughts on that because I don't want to ruin anyone's fun time. So everyone enjoy that. CP3 is retiring. He was kicked off of the Clippers by the Clippers, and then every single report was refuted. I believe the report about him and Ty Lue not talking for months. I also believe the report about Van Gundy, and for Ty Lue to to disagree with it so vehemently in front of the media, I thought was absolutely hilarious because Ty Lue is the connective tissue between the two big NFL FBI scandals that are going on right now. And and he's not mentioned that really at all. And he's not really, there's no reason for him to be the connective tissue. Why are you involved in these things? So for him to say this and just think that people are actually gonna just believe him just because he says so is comical. You know, the yeah, this it's just comical. Okay, let's talk about the top 10 point guards of all time because Chris Paul is retiring, and I've talked to a lot of people about him not being in my top five. He is in the top 10, but he's not in my top five. Top 10 point guards of all time. Magic Johnson, number one, undisputed. Steph Curry can do whatever he wants. In the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, he's not passing Magic Johnson. I'm sorry. Magic Johnson is number one. He is, when you say point guard, you say Magic Johnson. He's number one. Passes, ability to thread the needle, his ability to play all five positions, to defend wherever he wants. He just didn't have an outside shot for real, but he didn't need it the way he was playing. He put pressure on the rim. It's a lost art. One aspect of being a point guard is you put pressure on the rim, and regardless of how big you are, you got to make them feel you down there. Steph Curry is two. And this is hard for some people because people want to preserve their top five, top 10 and say Steph Curry's not a point guard. Well, let's say he's a point guard and then put him in here. So put him in here as a point guard. He's number two. The main reason that I have Steph Curry at number two is not really because he has four championships. It's really because at the end of the day, he's outperformed his adversaries when it matters the most. He he slayed the Oklahoma City dynasty as it was known from 2009 to 2016. He put the dagger in the coffin. He beat LeBron James on the biggest stage multiple times. Yeah, he had help. I'm not acting like that didn't happen, but he played well, and when he didn't play well, they lost. But he played well. So he outcompeted his adversaries when it mattered the most, and he's just a resetter of basketball. He's gonna retire with 5,700 threes, maybe 6,000 threes, which is unfathomable considering the fact that Reggie Miller was the first or Reggie Miller and Ray Allen were the two godfathers of the three who he wanted to pass, and they were both hovering around 2,000, 2,400 or whatever. Um, John Stockton is three. I love the story about how somebody went back and counted all of Stockton's assists, and they were like, "Dang, he really had all of them assists." Because Stockton is that dude. I love John Stockton. He's that guy. As a basketball player, um, just make want to make that clear. Uh, I like Stockton so much. I used to play with the Jazz. My brothers will tell you on NBA Live '98, I was playing with the Jazz. You know, Stockton and Malone, Hornacek, all of them guys. I was getting buckets with them dudes. And I think Vinny Del Negro might have been on. No, he was on the Clippers, maybe. Anyway, the point is that Stockton, as a basketball player, really the one of the maestros of the pick and roll. Isaiah Thomas, number four. He's number four to me because he was the general of the Bad Boys. He is also somebody who went head to head with his adversaries and competed well against them. He has positive records against the likes of Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and Bird, I believe. His crossover was lethal, and he was just a babyface assassin. Jason Kidd at number five. Can't disrespect the fact that he was as a point guard. And I'm sorry, I don't really consider Oscar Robertson a guard, a point guard, because I can't. I don't know where to rank him ever. You know, I've never. I just don't have it. When I think of Oscar Robertson, I just think of all of these ridiculous stats, kind of also Will Chamberlain stuff. But I just never seen any real film. As far as Jason Kidd, you know, putting on for point guards, getting triple doubles, filling up the stat sheet, the best rebounding point guard before Russell Westbrook came into the NBA, and that means a lot because Russell Westbrook has 10,000 rebounds, but best rebounding guard since or before Westbrook reset the books. Kid won in multiple places. He went to the finals in multiple places, and he was really a problem, especially once he once his athleticism kind of didn't get him all the way to the cup anymore when he turned 28, 9, started battling some injuries, 30 really, started battling some injuries. He just developed into this lethal isolation scorer while also still dropping ridiculous dimes. And then later in his career, obviously becoming a three-point guy, especially for the Mavericks while they won the championship. Chris Paul falls right below him, coming in at number six. Definitely a guy who I have lots to say about as far as making jokes and stuff, but Chris Paul is exactly who he thinks he is. And he's annoying. You know, he's probably really annoying to play against. But 2008, 9, 10, 12, Chris Paul was nobody was seeing Chris Paul at all. Literally nobody. And that's why Steph Curry is again so higher on the list because he's one of the guys who started to see him and Westbrook, who is next on the list. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Steve Nash right below him, two-time MVP. Can't ignore that. Jerry West, point guard for the Lakers, before Magic. And then Kyrie. I have Kyrie at 10. Okay, I'm gonna pick for the college football playoff. As far as the Heisman, I think that Jeremiah Love should win the Heisman. But as far as who's on the list, but I really think Trinidad Chambliss is the rightful Heisman winner. I also think that Juice Bell out of UConn deserves some Heisman consideration, believe it or not. Also believe he should win the Biletnikoff. But let's look at this 12-team bracket just to end the episode. This is episode 30 of IntheAMwMC. The final 12-team college football playoff bracket. I'm not into the debates about who should and should not be in the college football playoff. However, I would like to say that the first round, Oregon, James Madison, I think that's going to be a good football game. I don't think Oregon's just going to blow them out the water. I think that James Madison could give them a run for the money, maybe even win the game. But I think that Oregon wins that game to go play Texas Tech. I got Tech in that game. Right below them is Alabama versus Oklahoma. That should be a good football game as well. I got Bama. Bama versus the Hoosiers. I got the Hoosiers. Hoosiers versus Tech. I got the Hoosiers. Tulane versus Ole Miss. Give me Ole Miss. Ole Miss versus UGA. Give me UGA. A&M Miami. Give me A&M. A&M Ohio State might be the game of the bracket. Give me A&M. A&M UGA. Give me UGA. I got UGA versus the Indiana Hoosiers in the national championship. I think that the storylines will write themselves. Kurt Signetti would have an opportunity to defeat multiple blue bloods on the way to bring a school like Indiana, which is only ever known athletically for one movie named Hoosiers. Um, he'll have put them in uncharted waters. So I got Signetti versus Smart in the national championship game. I got Kirby. Show him. I was about to say show him that tongue, Kirby. Appreciate y'all. This episode 30 in the AM with MC. Thanks for rocking with the kid. Deuces.